In this video, we're going to be talking about 5 evidence-based techniques that you can do to massively increase your chances of hitting your goals in 2026. Now, obviously, when it comes to goals, the thing that separates those who achieve them and those who don't are the actions that they take. But if you look at the data, there's actually 5 things that stack the deck into your favor. Call them habits, call them hacks. They don't take long, but they can dramatically boost the odds of you achieving what you say you're gonna achieve next year. If you're new here, my name is Alex Studa. I'm 28 and I've built 4 companies that have over 200 employees and are worth over $100 million of enterprise value. I started in the restoration world, sucking out poop water and fixing houses after they burn down and flood, moved over into the software space, and then ended up investing in other restoration companies as well. And I make these videos because it's my passion to help you win in the real world. So let's dive into 5 evidence-based techniques that can help you achieve your goals in 2026. So this might seem simple, but number 1 is write your goals down. And I typically bucket my goals into 4 categories: health, wealth, love, and spirituality. So you can actually pause this video right now and write down your top 3 goals for each of those categories for 2026. I used to think that goal setting was for dreamers until I watched my income go from 0 to over 6 figures within 12 months. And all I did was just set a little bit more intentionality during that specific year. There's actually a study at Dominican University that states that you are 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you simply write them down. That's not fluff. That's an actual fact. And if writing them down gives you a 42% competitive edge, not writing them down is the tax that you should not pay. Now, simply writing down your goals is not the only way to achieve them in 2026, which brings me to number 2, look at them daily. There's a part within your brain called the reticular activating system. And essentially it filters what you're paying attention to. I don't know if you've ever wanted to buy a red car or you really wanted that one specific color jacket. What happens when you set the intention? You start seeing every single opportunity for you to get that car, even though before you never even had the idea that it existed. They didn't multiply overnight. Your brain just tuned into them. Every morning, I actually open up my phone and I open up the notes pad where I have the goals for the specific year. And then I go through one by one and I read them out loud. It literally takes 30 seconds. But it rewires focus and it gets your brain to literally start saying, all right, let's do this. An even bigger hack, if you use an iPhone, you can set up an automation that every single time you turn off your alarm, it opens up the notepad for you. So there you go. You're priming your brain every single morning. But writing down your goals and then reviewing them every single day aren't going to be the only 2 things that are going to help you hit your goals in 2026. Which brings me to number 3. Which is having a weekly achievement rhythm. Every Sunday, I run what I call my achievement rhythm, where essentially I block off 30 minutes of my day and I go through all the pillars of my life and I scale myself on a scale of 1 to 10 on each and every one of those. It's very easy to identify where I fell short and what I excelled in. And then I ask myself the question of what needs to change the following week for me to get back on track. And what that creates is I'll never go more than 1 week getting off track on my goals. Kind of how pilots fly every single day. So imagine a pilot taking off from New York to Los Angeles. What they do is they put together this specific roadmap on how they get from New York to Los Angeles, right? But imagine if the pilot were to take off on a northerly heading and then fall asleep for a couple hours. They'd end up in Canada in the middle of nowhere. And then imagine if they wake up and they realize that they're so far off track and then they turn the plane down south and then they keep going south for another 4 hours. Well, next thing you know, they end up in Mexico. They wake up in Mexico and they're like, holy crap, we're super off track. Let's go to LA. And then they turn the plane the other way. And they'll eventually run out of gas and crash into a mountain. Well, most people, they run their entire lives like that. They essentially set these goals, which is the flight plan from New York to LA, and then they forget about the goals for 3 months. And then they wake up on March and they look in the mirror and they realize that they're out of shape and they're off track on the goal. And they go all crazy trying to get back on track. And then they stop looking at the goals again and you're just up and down, and you're guaranteed to not create the momentum. Instead, if you have a weekly rhythm of execution, you'll never get off track more than 1 week. And 1 week, you can hypercorrect the following week. In general, I don't chase motivation, I chase consistency. Because consistency compounds and rhythms create consistency. Now, while you're doing the achievement rhythm, you have to be hyper allergic to one thing, which brings me to number 4, crush the obstacles. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're foggy. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, you know that feeling where the world's literally falling down on your shoulders? My favorite quote is, when you feel overwhelmed, it's simply a lack of clarity. If you're not finding yourself hitting those goals during that rhythms, chances are there's an obstacle in your way. And if you feel overwhelmed, you don't have clarity on that specific obstacle. Anytime I encounter an obstacle, I run it through 3 different questions. Number 1, what is actually blocking the progress? Number 2, what is the simplest action that I could take to absolutely remove that blocker? And number 3, who is the person or what is the resource that can get me to move faster to absolutely overcome this specific obstacle? When I built my first company, I used to stress over how to scale. Now I break everything into one next step. And fog turns into friction, and friction turns into flow. You don't need more motivation. You just need maps to overcome your obstacles. So if you're stuck on something right now and you've got a blocker that's holding you back from your goal, comment below and I'll actually be the first person to extend an offer to help you, free of charge. But there's one more element of these 5 elements that I'm talking about here that will literally supercharge your ability to crush your obstacles. Which brings me to number 5, tie your goals to your identity. Here's the thing, we don't get the things that we want. We become the people that have the things that we want. How many times have you tried to say, hey, I want to make more money? Well, here's the reality. If you don't become the person that is worth more money, you won't be able to attract more money into your life. I had a moment in time where I was extra fluffy. I was about 70 pounds overweight, and I literally almost died from COVID. And the reason I couldn't fight off COVID was because I was super overweight. So at that point in time, I vowed to myself that I would lose that weight and I would get back in shape. And for the first 3 to 4 months, I was up and down on this roller coaster and I was absolutely stuck until one of my mentors told me, dude, you need to become the person who is fit. You need to become the athlete in order to become fit. I was like, huh. So then I asked myself, okay, what type of identity would make me transform into somebody who's fit? And I started looking into these races called Spartan races, fell in love with them, and then I transformed my identity from just, hey, my name's Alex, I'm an entrepreneur, to my name's Alex and I'm a Spartan athlete. And that single identity shift changed everything for me. The way I ate, the way I drank, the way I slept, everything was with that identity in mind. Like, what would a Spartan athlete do in this specific moment? I ended up dropping 70 pounds, getting into the best shape of my life. Now I run Spartan races and I'm currently training for an Ironman. And everything else in life just became 10 times better because of that one shift. Identity changing is so important because when you change that identity, you start acting like that specific type of person. The same goes for everything else in life, in business, in personal relationships. If you identify as the person, you embody that identity, everything else will come after. If you actually do these 5 things, writing your goals down, looking at them multiple times per day, creating a weekly rhythm of execution, crushing your obstacles, and focusing on your identity, your 2026 won't just be better on paper. It'll be better in reality because your systems will finally match your ambitions. And I love this quote by James Clear from Atomic Habits. He says, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So if you can nail your systems, your goals will just happen by default. Comment below on how I can be helpful. I'm here to serve. And if you like this content and want to hear more, hit that subscribe button as we launch a new video every single week. See you guys next week.